is a episode of a rape by a an army captain of this young girl who went out in the evening to have a smoke in a car. And she was supposed, she then developed some seizures, and Farouk, Dr. Hakim had to see her for her father, who was his classmate back home when they were at school. But he asked him because she was having seizures, nobody knew what it was. And he saw her and discovered that those seizures were what are called functional or hysterical seizures. Her husband is called Abu Bakr, and he's there. So Tariq tried to say as little as possible without actually lying to him, to Abu Bakr. He explained that the seizures were not real ones from the brain, but because of stress. But Abu Bakr wanted to know how stress could do that. He was, after all, an educated university graduate. That's the husband of Abu Bakr. And he says, everyone in Yemen has stress. In fact, lots of it. How come they don't all have seizures? He asked. But your wife has been through much more than most people. What do you mean? Why don't you ask her yourself? She might not tell me. You know what women are like, he said patronizingly with a half smile. I'm really not at liberty to tell you, Abu Bakr. I'm sorry. What do you mean? She's my wife. Have you forgotten your Yemeni roots? The husband is in charge of the wife. It says so, even in the utterings of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Abu Bakr, in Canada, we are not allowed to discuss the private health of a wife, even with her husband, without her permission. We are not in Canada, shouted Abu Bakr angrily. Look, I'm painfully aware of that. Abu Bakr then calls his wife. Mona, come here immediately, screamed Abu Bakr, now looking extremely angry. As Mona approached, Tariq felt very uneasy, for he could smell trouble, and he knew he was between a rock and a hard place, whatever he did. Abu Bakr glowered at Mona. Daughter of Al-Maddi, that's her father's name. What have you been concealing from me? Are you pregnant? Or did I marry an incomplete woman? Or a diseased woman? No, inshallah, everything will be fine. Tell the doctor to tell me what is wrong with you. Now tears started rolling down her cheeks, and she could say nothing. Eventually, she looked up at the doctor and shook her head in the affirmative. Tariq wished he had never set foot in Yemen, but it was too late. Abu Bakr, you have to be very understanding. Your wife had major trauma. Abu Bakr looked at his wife and asked her if she had fallen down the stairs, but she kept her eyes fixated on the floor. No, it's not that kind of trauma, said Dr. Tariq. She was attacked by a man. It's not her fault. She could not stop him. At this point, Abu Bakr went berserk. Oh my Allah, you have cheated me, and your father cheated me. You are a violated woman, and you dare live in my house under my roof? Abu Bakr rushed off to the phone in the lounge and with trembling hands tried to dial Farouk's number. Farouk is her father. but he made an error and slammed the phone down without apology. He dialed again, and this time got to his father-in-law, who was waiting for the opinion of the doctor. He did not address him with the customary uncle title. That's what happens out of respect. Instead he said, "Farouk al-Maddi, don't you have any shame? You gave me a used daughter, a violated bride. You cheated me. You are a liar. You have no honor. Come immediately and take your daughter out of my house. She is divorced." And he slammed the phone down, not allowing Farouk any response. I lost my spot. That tirade seemed to calm Abu Bakr just enough for Tariq to speak. While Muna was sobbing loudly, Abu Bakr began, "Tariq, I think I know how cheated you feel and how betrayed. But please listen to me. I am at least your father's age. Let me say something before I leave, and then you will never see me or hear from me for the rest of your life. I know what you are going to say, that she could not defend herself, that she should have screamed, that she should have defended herself, that she should have screamed and fought with her nails and hands and teeth. Even if he killed her, it would have been more honorable. Why is it that in our culture we always think that a woman's honor lies between her thighs? How is this gentle and delicate and loving woman you see sobbing here suddenly without honor today? And yet she was with honor before that cowardly attack. Abu Bakr replies, the Quran insists on honor and chastity. True, but as I remember it, the verse in the Quran says, O Prophet, tell the believers to guard their chastity. And it uses both the male gender and the female gender. Is that not true? Yes, I have read the Quran and I have followed its instructions, Abu Bakr says. You may be the exception here. You know very well, Abu Bakr, that Yemeni men and boys are not held to the same standards. Why not hold them to the same standards set by Islam? It seems that the West has changed your values, Doctor. These are our ways, and these are our values. When you got married, did you not insist on marrying a virgin? To tell you the truth, I did not. You did not? I cannot believe this. Was she a Yemeni? No, she was Scottish. Well, if you accept that, it's your problem. I'm surprised that an important and wealthy man like you would have done that. Here, such a woman would be considered loose and immoral. A whore. Importance and wealth have nothing to do with it. It is a question of attitude towards freedom of choice. By your own criteria, most women in Scotland would be immoral. By your criteria, most women in Scotland would be immoral or even whores. Do you think most women in Scotland are without honor? At one time in Scotland itself, hundreds of years ago, they too had the same strict ideas about virginity and premarital sex and single mothers and homosexuality. I hope you don't approve of homosexuality. I'm not one myself, but I have absolutely no problem with those who wish to live that way. They are happy, they do not harm anyone. I respect their choice, and I expect them to respect mine. So in the interest of time, I will not go any further, but there's more of that kind of conversation. Just one final short one, I think, and then we'll quit. This is in jail. The doctor was put in jail because he diagnosed this rape, and of course the captain in the army was a suspect, and the army put him in jail, stop him from testifying. Tariq was getting concerned that the interrogation was getting nowhere. He decided to appeal to Taha's sense of fairness, Taha being the jailer. Now what? You know what happened with Lubna, because I told you the truth. You will have to recant the diagnosis you gave that family. You don't mean that. I cannot falsify the evidence. This is against the law, against my Hippocratic oath, and against my own character, and it is against Islam too. Prophet Muhammad said, "He who cheats us is not one of us." Didn't he? I'm surprised to hear you quote the Prophet, peace be upon him. He had a reputation, you had a reputation when you were here of being very secular. And the funny thing is, your whole family adheres so much to Islam. No one ever saw you at a mosque on a Friday or at iftar during the month of Ramadan. So now suddenly you want to use Islam to defend your own action? Tell me, Professor, when was the last time you were at a Friday prayer? Not for a long time. I'm not ashamed of the fact some choose not to practice what I call the rituals of Islam, but live its lofty principles at the same time. Others follow the rituals of praying 5 times a day, but live lives of crime. Which would be better, in your opinion? Why not do both if you are a true Muslim? The conduct, Tariq replies, the conduct of a Muslim is something between him and his God. Forcing people to pray, as happens with the Mutawa in Saudi Arabia, is idiotic. You cannot do that. The English proverb says, you can take the horse to the water, but you cannot make it drink. Just as you cannot make me falsify my medical evidence. And Taha replies, not only do you need to recant, you will sign a statement we give you to that effect, said Taha in a menacing tone. And if I don't, you will. You are not the first one to sing when we tell you to. I propose that I stop doing any reading, but if you have any comments or questions, there's a microphone here. You can ask me any question you want, or make comments, or you can start with you seeing that you already know the book, and then we'll go back to it.
Yeah, my name is Michael Pimo. I worked with Case when he was running for the Green Party. And my biggest regret is he's not in Parliament. And I mean that very seriously. He's one of the finest people I've ever worked with who was thinking of running for election.
It's not my regret at all.
But you're, anyways, I'm just going to make 2-3 points. Okay, first of all, when I read a book, I have to explain something, a couple of things. One is my 2 children were seen by medical people for some medical situations. And both a psychiatrist and a psychologist said I've got ADD. After 9 years of university and no meds, I guess I was able to overcome it. But what happens when I read a book, I get a 3D multi-sensory perception. I guess that's the ADD. And in my misspent youth, I had a real good opportunity to travel. I was with the Canadian Forces. I used to go to Europe for $2 a shot, if you can imagine, and hitchhike around. I was in Cyprus with the United Nations. I got over to Lebanon, a day in Syria. I spent 3 weeks in Morocco to see the outside. That picture on the cover kind of reminds me of the town. You know, towns, the foods, just the people you meet on the street. It was a very wonderful experience. So starting to read the book, I was sort of getting into the society a bit more, and it's rather amazing your preview of what the Arab Spring in many ways. it's very encouraging. I think a lot of young people with little iPods are now able to communicate with each other and to get across some of the injustices that they're seeing, and we're seeing some very positive things. But the whole book was very exciting to me. It was, like I said, multidimensional, multifactorial, and multi-sensory. So if you haven't read it, it really is exciting and a real eye-opener, especially what's happening in the world today.
Thank you.
As to should people be forced to take off their veil or their hijab on their heads only without covering their face, like these two young ladies here, is a clear no. Nobody should force anybody to do anything. If that's what they choose to do, they have their reasons, and we should all respect them. I think if there is any evidence that there are people who are forced to do it against their will, and there is such evidence, yes, they should have redress. They should have some way of lodging a complaint that I'm being forced to do this. Of course, the problem is that the women who tend to do that don't even know that they have the opportunity to complain and bring this up. So I think that what we should do is respect other people's ways of dress, just like some men or women might be offended if they saw a woman walking around Rideau Street or anywhere in a bikini, for example. She has a right to do so if she wants. That's her problem or her choice. So if we stick to this principle, respecting people's choices, that's the most important thing. But also protecting those who cannot protect themselves. You can get it at Octopus and Mother Tongue and Collected Works on Holland. It sells for $20 with a tax of $1. Here you can get it for $15, because that's what it cost me to produce. Actually, it cost me $14 to produce. Yeah, but I want to spread the word, and that's why I'm doing it. There's also so that's what we'll do if you like, and I will sign the books for you if you wish. But don't feel that you have to have a signature. I will not be offended if you just want to get away from it. All right? Okay. Thank you very much for